Okay, we'll go ahead and get started for tonight. If everybody would stand and say the pledge of allegiance with us. Appreciate it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a quick roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Here.
Brad Godecker,
Here.
Deborah Hendrickson. Here. Richard Hill,
Here.
Joe Saylor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Carmen, invocation, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, I ask you for your blessing and guidance as we conduct the town's business this evening. I also ask that you be with those who are going through trials and that you provide them with comfort, peace, and perseverance as they navigate difficult times. Amen.
Thank you. Review of the agenda.
I'd like to add to the new business section at the end, discussion amongst the council about conversations with New Whiteland.
Okay. Anything else? Moving on to the minutes of 8/12/2025. Questions, concerns, comments? Have a second.
A second.
Brad and Deb, and roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
Yes. 5-0.
Voucher packets 9/9/25. Any questions?
You have new vouchers for the general water and sewer. There was corrections made, so that's was on your desk when you got here.
Were there significant changes from what was in the packet to what?
What was the generals? Change.
For that payout.
Any questions, Deb, Tim,
No.
No, sir.
Brad, Joe?
Move to approve voucher packet 9/9/25.
Have a second?
Second.
Brian and Tim, second it. Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
Melissa, financial reports?
Got them up there. Everything looked fine for the general fund. There wasn't anything that was out of ordinary. Sewer fund was the same. I can read these if you'd like, or whatever you'd like.
I can read them from here. Let's. Read.
No.
Sewer improvement is fine. Water fund is good, and water improvement, there was no major. The interest that we received on our accounts are $33,846.00.
Thank you. Any questions for Melissa? Nope. Gonna move into old business. Ordinance 2025-10. Carmen?
With the introduction of Jacob McClellan from Booth Smithing and Stephen Watson, and have them handle this portion of the.
Okay, thank you.
Jacob was the other thing. I think you guys have. This is ordinance, statutorily, if you want to form a redevelopment authority, opt in to do so. That allows you to, the redevelopment authority essentially is like a building corporation, like if you've seen how schools finance or how some communities will finance jails or town halls or what have you. The redevelopment authority will act as kind of an issuer of bonds and enter into a lease with the redevelopment commission, allowing you to use the redevelopment commission for bond issuances, not just direct bond issuances, but lease bond issuances to avoid kind of debt limit issues. This all kind of ties into the Bob Glidden and Whiteland Road roundabout project and will allow you to finance that project. It's kind of part of the next resolution that you guys are considering as well. And I guess just talking about those generally, assuming that you guys form the redevelopment authority, then there'll be a couple of different leases that one we would ask you all to enter into with the redevelopment authority, and then the redevelopment authority would lease those same leased assets to the redevelopment commission. Redevelopment authority would issue bonds, and those bonds would be used for that roundabout project. As far as timing on that project, assuming everything, this ordinance is adopted, the next resolution is adopted tonight. The redevelopment authority, assuming you guys form it, will meet on Thursday, right before the redevelopment commission. Assuming they adopt it, there's a 30-day notice that goes out. After that 30-day period runs, we would work with Adam Stone to market those bonds, probably have a bond sale in late October with funds available to commence the project starting in mid-November. But I've spoken a lot, so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I think we have the commission, we have some of these today that we're gonna do.
That is correct. You've been provided names of
Names.
proposed members.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they have a meeting this week.
Yes.
This come next Tuesday, Thursday.
Yes.
That's fine. Do you have any questions with this at all? No. Mr. Watson, did you want to add to any of that?
It's straightforward and he covered it.
Okay,
I'll move to approve ordinance 2025-10.
second,
I'll second.
Joe and Brad and roll
Okay,
call.
go ahead.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Go Decker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes,
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes,
passed 5-0.
20-2509. Is that you also?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're kind of part of the same.
Okay,
So you formed the redevelopment authority, then the next step is to authorize the leases. So what the lease premises here would be some of the streets within the town, and that's pretty typical to do for development or capital improvements in a town or a city. We do it in a lot of other communities as well. And the project would be the leased premises. And once the project's completed, then there's enough value there for the lease, and we can release those other roads that are included in the form of leases that you guys have. The base lease is basically kind of a ground lease that you lease those premises, those roads to the redevelopment authority. Then the redevelopment authority leases those back to the redevelopment commission. Redevelopment authority issues bonds. Redevelopment commission makes payments to the redevelopment authority, but those are assigned to a bond trustee. The payments line up with the bond. And once everything's paid off, once the bonds are paid off, all the roads come back. But obviously, the redevelopment authority is wholly within, actually, you as the town council president appoint the members. The redevelopment commission is wholly within the town's control. And it's all kind of a vehicle for economic development or capital within the town.
okay,
And again, this is the second step, and then the redevelopment authority and redevelopment commission would meet next week, authorize the issuance of bonds and authorize the entry into the ground lease with you all. And then the redevelopment authority will authorize the lease with the redevelopment commission. Redevelopment commission will also authorize the lease with the redevelopment authority. I know it's kind of a roundabout way, but of course we have debt limit issues here and issues with direct debt. past a certain point. So this preserves that ability. And then these payments, will be payable from, primarily it will be a pledge of special benefits tax, but you guys have reserved the right to use, other available funds of the town. So TIF or other things that you would appropriate. So that way it's not a hard pledge of TIF. It doesn't start the TIF clock. And it just retains your flexibility, for what you'd use to make the payments. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
How long's their term?
We put in a 12-year term, not to exceed, but that includes some fluff just in case the market went crazy or something like that. I don't know, Carmen, I don't recall offhand how long we're actually, was it like a 7 or 8 year term? So
I mean, if we can pay it off early, that's what we look for, is that there be no penalties for paying it off early.
early, yeah.
And how long is the redevelopment authority's term each?
They're 3-year terms and they'll continue to serve, if you don't appoint somebody new, but you guys can appoint somebody new. I would anticipate, I think statutorily, they're supposed to meet, one time at the beginning of the year, kind of for administrative matters. I mean, that said, it's not fatal if they didn't meet. Oftentimes in communities, they only meet when there's a financing.
When there's a voucher packet or?
When there's something needed to be financed.
Am I correct? Maybe you can speak to the extent to which the property tax is pledged for payment on these funds.
So it's pledged for payment so that
So they-
banks who
They're
would buy
sending it
this
up
or
to
underwriters
bid.
who buy this will look at that as the repayment source. But my understanding is that you guys anticipate paying this with another of the town. So kind of the best of both worlds in that it lets the banks look at your, ultimate credit source, which is your strongest credit source, which would be property tax. But you guys have, I think, a lot of coverage with TIF that you'll be able to use to actually make the payment. But TIF isn't pledged and, other revenues of the town that might be available aren't pledged. So it retains your flexibility to use those.
Sir, I have a question. So going to bond, so what's our target interest rate? And then is it locked in? Is it not to exceed? Where are we at?
Yeah, so in the resolution, there's some of the parameters. I've gotten those from Adam. Those are your not to exceed parameters in section 2. So it's not to exceed 6%. Now, this will be tax exempt. I don't know exactly where it'll be. I'm guessing based on other communities, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm guessing it'll be in 3 or 4. For example,
It can't exceed.
it can't exceed that
6% over the
6%.
term.
Yeah, over the term, and you'll lock in. It'll be a fixed rate. It won't be a floating rate or anything like that. In all likelihood, I'm not a financial advisor, but in all likelihood, it's going to be like your last bond, but it's going to be a little like a Huntington Bank or somebody like that will probably come in and buy it. And they'll buy it at a fixed rate. They'll book it. And it'll be, those are the parameters. So not to exceed annual payment of $400,000 a year, 6% rate, and not to exceed 12 years. But again, I think those are just all for flexibility, and the $2,750,000 that I think is higher than you all need as well. But it's typical to put some fluff just in case, but ultimately if the market went crazy, I mean, we would be working with Zen, with Carmen, to make sure you guys were comfortable with proceed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Watson, you reviewed this?
Yeah,
So with the stamp red line, is this the final or is this
the reason that you have some
there?
red line is because the the resolution
That's right.
was provided to you at the last meeting, and there were a few changes that were made. And I wanted you to be able to see what was changed from what you were provided last.
Which is the blue,
Which is, yeah.
so it should say blue line instead of red line.
I suppose if you wanted to say that, you could. That would be contrary to what's normal, but yes.
I think it was mostly kind of just clearing up and making the project descriptions consistent.
While you're looking at that, Richard, I'll just speak to Adam a little bit here. Just talking about, and then questions were asked about what expectations there might be in terms of, terms of the sale of the bonds.
Oh, sure.
And if you want to give them a little more information on that, you might try and do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think, we've been tracking the market. I think this is gonna be in line with the fire placement. I think we might price a little bit higher just from the nature of the transaction. But as far as the appetite, competitiveness, I think it's gonna be in that realm.
Well, what's interest rate realm was that?
5%, say 4%.
What do you think the ultimate? I know we did see 12 years, but were we thinking
10.
10 is
Yeah.
probably the target? Okay.
Thanks, Adam. Anybody have any questions, concerns?
Nope.
Weird. Brad, did you? No. Motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-09.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Me and Joe, roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Decker,
Yes.
Brendan Dirksen,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Appointments to the redevelopment authority.
This is for the town council president, but I did provide that for all of you, that the appointment, or it should have been in your packet. Three individuals that I would like to recommend for appointment to the redevelopment authority is Lisa Brown, Tim Dunn, and Alan Whitaker.
And done. And
Yeah.
Kim,
Tim's one that says on the paper.
I know who Alan is. I know who Lisa is, but I don't know
They live in, she lives in.
Kim. Is she here?
Are they all here other than Alan?
No,
I'm sorry, what?
Are they all here other than Alan?
I did that.
Alan's here.
Okay, I knew he was here.
Yeah.
I
Thank you,
didn't
sir.
know They needed to prepare a speech, so.
Okay. Appreciate your willingness to serve, sir. So we'll just sign that after.
Physically appoint them.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know if you have to formally make a statement.
If you just state that your intention is to appoint them and that you'll sign the paperwork after the meeting, then that'll be fine for the record.
my intention is to appoint them and we'll sign the paperwork at the end of the meeting.
Very good.
So,
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. 2025-10. Revision of handbook.
I can speak to that briefly. You may recall that last meeting discussed that there were some discrepancies between practice in the clerk treasurer's office for paid time off, and council at the last meeting directed that the handbook be updated to reflect the current practice. And so what you have in front of you, red line pages that show those revisions that were made. We also made it clear that in the event an employee dies while in employment, that would be treated as any other termination of employment would be treated for purposes of paid time off.
I just have one, and I don't know what anybody else thinks, but if department heads give less than 30 days notice, I feel like being a department head, they need to be here when they train. And I feel like they should give a 30-day notice. Does anybody else feel that way? Because it's awful
that's for purposes of what?
to train.
I know, I'm sorry, that's a terrible way to phrase that question. What happens if they don't?
I guess PTO, they don't get, if they don't give a 30-day notice, then they're not in good standing. Is there anything wrong with that?
Well, I think does that create an issue of getting out of at-will employment?
We already state that if you're not in good standing, you don't get your PTO.
I have the same question.
My opinion is if they're gonna turn in their 2 weeks, they're not gonna wanna train someone else anyway. I mean, and let's be honest, they're gonna want out. If they're at that point that they don't wanna work here, they're gonna step up and say, turn in my 2 weeks notice. And they're really not gonna put a lot of effort in training a new person. Is my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely situational, but I mean, you can have somebody that just found a new opportunity and they really appreciate it, or somebody that's, hey, I'm disgruntled for whatever reason. I mean, if somebody wants to leave, I mean, I think it's, the courtesy and whatever, but I mean, you can't demand it or request it. I mean, our focus is to make sure that this is a nice place to work for all of our staff, with appropriate benefits and, like camaraderie and everything else like that. And hopefully people enjoy it and enjoy their time here. And, then of course, it's always time to move on. But I mean, I'm not interested in doing that. I just think it's a negative.
And I'm not either, to be honest.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing it up, though.
I had a couple other questions.
Okay. Is this on the red line pages?
So it goes with performance evaluations,
Which page?
8.
Okay. Very good.
I know we had talked about this and we actually put this to a vote about administrative operations and chief of police doing reviews at the end of the year. Thought we voted to do that. Can we put that in this to do evaluations on the administration?
Who's doing an evaluation on the administration?
The council?
Oh, I thought we did not do that.
Yeah, we voted and I think it passed. We just never did it.
My recollection is different, but I'm far from 100% certain.
What I'm vaguely recalling is that there was an intention to do that going forward,
Yes.
starting next year.
Yeah,
And
it was.
so if you're suggesting that we incorporate something into the handbook that, puts in writing that intention, we could do that.
Well, is this for updating present or is this going forward or is this effective like?
Well,
For the purposes of the changes in particular, it's effective as of the beginning of this year, January 1 of 2025.
So primarily with,
Because we were just trying to get things
okay,
in sync with actual practice, the handbook in sync with actual practice.
but they're gonna do the handbook later, right, Carmen? You have plans to do the handbook later?
Yes, Invigorate has it right now.
Okay.
Give us back a draft.
I mean, we can
Okay.
do a review anytime that we want.
yeah, okay, I misunderstood.
But I agree with Richard that we have to give reviews because that's usually when raises come out is when you get a review. If your review's good, you get a good raise. If your review's not good, you get a bad raise. That's how it is at my place. And I would, even our managers, even our director of operations, all that stuff, utility, they go through review, the council reviews them and write the reviews to it. And I thought that was a good thing. And I thought that's what was going to happen here, is we were going to do that too, is do a review on like the department head, which would be you, chief, and then Hauser, as long as they're here with us, That's what I thought was going to happen.
I mean, I have other concerns and other suggestions, but if the goal and objective is to just cover kind of what we originally talked about today, then we can bring this back up.
Right.
Maybe
The
that,
PTO has to take effect as
Okay.
first check in January, so that's why they're
I
changing.
misunderstood. So,
That's the
I
intent.
think we have a whole new revised employee handbook coming to it.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll just hold my comments and we'll just address what you proposed. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds really good.
I've taken a look at it. It looks like it does everything that we had asked. Include I'll move to approve the resolution 2025-10.
We have a second.
Yes, second.
Mr. Signal, Mr. Godecker, roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Excuse me, yes.
pass 5-0.
Ms. Carmen, Advisory Plan Commission appointments.
So I provided you all with some research and information as to on August 27th in regards to a few of the positions that are on our Advisory Plan Commission. And as I presented last month, we have 2 vacancies, of which were employees of the town of Whiteland. Within the state statute, what it reads is the municipal legislative body shall appoint 3 persons who must be elected or appointed municipal officials or employee in the municipal government as members. I think the question last month, Mr. Brown had asked if we could open this up to the public, the general public, to allow residents to have an opportunity to serve on the Advisory Plan Commission. As of right now, we have 4 residents that serve on that Advisory Plan Commission, and then the other 3 are appointed by you all and are employees of the town of Whiteland. I've represented the same recommendations to fill the previous seats again that were held by employees, and would ask for you, if you have any questions or concerns, to voice those now, or if you're open to the recommendations. The previous appointment for Sean Young, recommendation for appointment is Armando de Santiago. He would fulfill the term that ends in 2026. And then previous appointment, Eric Funkhauser, recommendation for appointment is Jason Kephart. Both of those individuals served in a public works or operations type role. And then Eric obviously is from the fire department, and both would be filled with people that are in similar roles or do those duties on a daily basis to help us when we have developments come before the Plan Commission, to help provide that insight on both fire and operations, and making sure we're tackling all of the questions that we have to make sure that the town's protected. And we ask for things from our developers that may get missed if we didn't have that representation. So be open to any questions. Both of those terms would end July or December 31st of 2026.
My read of the statute is that it's mandatory, it's not permissive, that they have to be employees or officials, so I'll move to approve the appointment of Juan de Santiago and Mr. Kephart to the Advisory Plan Commission.
I'll second.
Joan, and roll call please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker, Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes,
pass 5-0.
thank you, guys. Carmen?
Under new business, it says ordinance. There's no formal ordinance before you today, and I apologize that we got the budget forms to you late yesterday. But to help summarize where we're at, I did put together just kind of a what did we adopt last year in the budget? And then what are we proposing or advertising for 2026? These are just the funds that are within the DLGF realm to review and give their thumbs up or tell us to go back to the drawing board. I'll preface this. Last Friday, I sent you all the increase in our assessed value. Whiteland is the highest growing assessed value in the county, if not maybe one in the state. We had a 34 to 38%, depending on how you do the numbers, 38% increase in our assessed value year over year. Since 2017, we've had over a 200% increase in our assessed value. The fire district, so you know that they have a little bit larger of an area outside of the town limits. They had a 40% increase in their assessed value. As you all are aware, the state only allows you to grow at 4%. This double-digit growth has been something we've experienced. So we're starting to reap the benefits of the increased assessed value, even as we go into the unknown with what property taxes are going to do in pay 2027. So in 2026, everything stays the same, even though the General Assembly did make some revisions to property taxes and property tax relief for property owners. But before you, again, this is just an introduction. The general fund, you will see that there is quite a bit of an increase. Let me just say that in our next item that we're going to discuss, and I'll have Adam help me with that, is we are planning, this is our last year, we can go for the maximum levy growth appeal. The state General Assembly has now taken that away from the local units. So if now they're really saying you can only grow at 4%. Now, I'm not going to put stop work orders on any of these developments and say, well, I can't have you build. But we need to get creative on how we're able to capture those dollars back that we may lose or that we will lose when it comes to property taxes in 2027. So we will be appealing or putting in for the maximum levy growth appeal. Even with that, our tax rate will still go down. If we are not approved for the levy growth appeal, our tax rate will go down about 10%. Is that correct? And then with the levy growth appeal, our tax rate will still go down 5%. So we're still going to lose out on money that we, technically should be collecting. The big things in the general fund, I just want to highlight this. As you all know, when we brought the fire department into the town of Whiteland, we didn't really have a plan on how we plan to fund them. Now they have their fire general, they have their fire cumulative funds, but we were also bringing on at what that point was more of a volunteer fire district, a $300,000, $400,000 budget. Their budget the last couple of years has been upwards of over $700,000. How we've funded it the last 2 years is through the LIT ED, the local income tax, or CEDIT. You'll hear that, the county economic development income tax. CEDIT is going away. So we have to find a way to fund those salaries that we've been paying out of that CEDIT fund. So there is a big chunk put into the general fund. 2/3 of the firefighter salaries has been put into the general fund that should be offset with some of that levy growth appeal. We also, and then obviously with the growth that we're able to capture those dollars. The other items, just again, as what was adopted and what advertised, just as highlights for the public. There are quite a few other funds where this levy growth appeal are eligible funds. Local road and street, motor vehicle highway, how we've normally funded our street projects has just been what we collect in wheel tax, or what we collect in our general funds. But we have an opportunity to use some general fund money to fund road projects as well. Parks and Recreation is another one. As you know, we're working on our master plan for parks. But do we have a funding source for parks? And so there's other opportunities for us to use extra property tax money to fund various projects throughout the town. The one thing that is on here that I did get rid of, and I will send you a link to the actual full detail on the Form 1 you received. That's kind of a summary of salaries and some different things. Trying to go electronic, so bear with me. And if you want it printed out, I can print it on 11x17 paper, and it'd probably be like 50 pages, but I can do it. But I can also send you the link so you guys can kind of play with it. You can filter it by fund, you can filter it by department. There's a lot of cool tools within that. But within edit, we did get that revised. So on here, it does show that we advertised 270,000. That has been brought down to 0, and that money is in general.
Why is it brought down to 0? Because this year we still get it.
Oh,
What?
we just have a balance.
There would be no additional revenues placed into this fund after this year.
After 2025.
Oh, after 2025.
Yeah.
But there is no funds in it now.
We have funds in it, but do we want to deplete it? Let's kind of, we have opportunity through general fund to fund this department moving forward, we need to start making a plan. That's, I mean, the big elephant in the room is how are we gonna fund the fire department?
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for us, while we have the chance to start moving some more things into the general fund, and to make sure we've got that covered. So the edit, fund balance, and it'll be we do have a nice healthy balance at $639,000.
Okay.
But again, let's kind of pause. There's some other funds that are not depleted, but we have paused on pulling any money out. LECE, the Law Enforcement Continuing Education, we just got a deposit in August, so it did bring our balance back up. We were less than $1,000. So it did bring our balance back up to over $7,000, but we moved that training for the police officers into the general fund as well. So just to kind of give that fund an opportunity to kind of build itself back up before we start, running it down to zero every year.
What money goes into LECE?
Right now, the only thing we get is whatever the state gives us, the one-time-a-year gun permits. We also get citations, correct?
And police report.
And police reports. So when people come in and ask for those, or when we issue a citation. But primarily, I mean, we used to win gun permits, you actually had to get one. We would get more money coming into that fund. But
The gun permit is a grant only because they took away the local offices collecting those funds 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So it's just a grant now. And we don't know when that'll end.
Okay, thank
or
you.
how much we'll get. Right.
So Carmen, I'm not a CPA by no means, nor do I want to be. So if we keep moving money in and out of our general fund, so what funds the general fund?
I will let Adam answer all of that because there's a lot of things that do fund it, but we tend to we tend to look at property tax as the big one. There's a lot of different funds
And
or
part
revenues.
two of that question is with all this moving around and pulling out of the general fund, should we be concerned about our general fund in 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road when I'm no longer a part of this board where
I think it's a good concern, and we've got some specific notes for you on that specific fund.
okay.
To talk about it now, but we have to.
I think the biggest thing is, again, we're trying to departmentalize. A lot of our previous expenditures were put on our utilities, water, sewer, storm. And it may not have had anything to do with water, sewer, or storm. And so that's where we're trying to find and mirror what other municipalities tend to do when it comes to what is actually paid out of the general fund. Your public safety is usually out of the general fund, police and fire. So that's a definite, but we added in the clerk treasurer, the planning department, of which they bring in enough revenues to kind of fund themselves, but it's just in the general fund. So, and then the general town administration, so. Any questions for me?
Do you know how much the police salaries totaled?
I could pull that report, I could filter it down for you, but we did put in for salaries for everyone. Adam feels very confident that, this is not an unfundable budget. It's totally fundable. We have healthy balances afterwards. But I can pull exact salaries. I don't have the spreadsheet. Maybe he's doing it right now.
We have to do a public hearing tonight, right?
It's actually first reading.
Adam, could you step up and then address the two questions that I had, please? And then we'll see if anybody else has questions, then we can go into. Yes, public. Yeah.
Quite a bit. This is the first budget that we've really participated with you on. So these first ones that we do, I like to actually take a step back because I think a lot of times what we see is that like terms like levy and tax caps and all those things kind of just sort of, you might have gotten it over multiple cycles. So if it would be okay, I'd like to just quickly spend a minute or two and just sort of baseline these things, because as we talk, I'll be using those terms, just want to kind of define them at least how we use them on the budget side. So, the best way to think about it would be going back to your kind of 34 or 40% growth rate in assessed valuations. Well, you have a town tax rate and you have an assessed value. What a lot of people think is that that tax rate is charged to an assessed value. So as the assessed value of a community grows, that just automatically creates new tax revenues. That is actually not the way it works. And it takes a while to get your head around this. The best working analogy that I've come up with to help myself is that the state of Indiana created this sort of levy concept, and it really works more. I almost think about it as like an HOA budget. Like if we're all on an HOA board and we have a budget to operate the common areas of the town, then we sort of have a budget to maintain those common areas, if you will. And in this case, not the town of Whiteland, but the state of Indiana tells you what that can grow at for inflation each year, regardless of any other factor. So across the board, statewide, that inflationary factor on that sort of levy, the maximum amount of property tax that your unit of government can bill next year, can grow no more than 4%. Okay. So you actually grew at 40%. So in other words, your actual service responsibility area grew 10 times faster than what the state is allowing your property tax revenue to grow. What ends up happening in that situation then is your tax rate falls, because what is common sense is that your tax rate is some number, and as you grow, that just gets applied to the new homes being built, and they just pay in taxes and the pot gets bigger. That's not the way it works. The pot stays the same, and as new homes are built, the tax rate charged on each home actually drops. Okay, the overall amount of money stays relatively fixed, but for that levy growth factor, which you think about it as like an inflationary adjustment. So the first takeaway is, you're in a rapid period of growth, and it's not. There's really only a few mechanisms that you can utilize, of many of which you already have, to try to maintain a tax rate while you're growing at such a rate. Adopting a cumulative capital development fund and establishing it at the maximum rate is one of those. You've already done that. The second is responsibly using debt service levy to backfill and pick up some of that tax rate that's lost. That would be an example of the fire bonds that you did. Okay. Those two things are in addition. Those are council fiscal actions that you have discretion over that are tax rate above and beyond the normal 4% growth. So you have this sort of like normal working maximum levy, and to give you actual real dollars on that, the town number in 2026, the normal maximum levy is $1,093,421. And the fire maximum levy is $214,433. Those are the amounts post the 4% growth that the state say that's your legal maximum that you can bill every single tax parcel within your jurisdiction. Okay. That levy is unique here in that fire has its own sort of general levy, and then the town has it. The town's property tax, getting to your point, is that all of that right now is receipted to the general fund. That is also a choice. There are certain funds, general, park, MVH. There's a couple other that are special purpose that don't apply to you. Those are the three big ones that you can allocate that year to year. So for example, if you wanted to put more property tax revenue to roads or to parks, you have that choice each and every year as part of your budget process to take that $1.1 million worth of property tax on the town side and decide which funds you want to slide that money to. Okay, that's within your control each and every year. The total amount of pie is controlled by the state. Okay. The only other option is to add, take those fiscal actions to sort of adopt a cumulative capital development fund. You have already done that. You've already maxed that out. You have the option within limits to issue debt service levy, which you have done. And then there's a cumulative fire fund that you've adopted as well at the max. The only other remaining tool is you can appeal through a petition to the Department of Local Government Finance, the state agency that oversees those levies, to say, hey, we're growing at such a sufficiently high rate that 4% more revenue doesn't make sense for a 40% larger town. You know what I mean? How are we going to be able to make that math work? This is coming out of this legislative changes. This was one of the tools that were impacted as a result of Senate Bill 1 or Senate Enrolled Act 1. This tool goes away after this year. So this is the last year currently in state law that a growth appeal can even be petitioned.
Do you know why?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I will tell you, I am a terrible at the the politics side of it. I can tell you that I think it's just misunderstood. I think levy, this is just me, Adam, speaking. I think like 10 people in the state of Indiana probably truly understand the levy structures. I think it's just been tinkered with over the years in such a way that it's just gotten kind of overly complicated. I would say there is also an annexation-based appeal. So I think one argument that I at least could see how people would say we don't need a growth appeal is that if you assume only growth happens via annexation, they left the annexation appeal, they took away the assessed value growth appeal. The principal argument is if the growth is because of inflation, if the growth is just that homes are being assessed for higher, then that doesn't translate to more police officers. That doesn't translate to more fires. Right? I can at least see that argument. The challenge in your case is that is not what's happening here. Your home, this is new construction within your limits that is driving up that assessed valuation. So those are new actual units and responsible areas that are stretching your budgets. So from my perspective, this is a tool that losing this is not good. I do expect there are committees that are looking at this. There are people that are pushing back on this. We're hopeful that in the next few legislative sessions, there may be some sort of walk back or in betweens here, but all of that's speculation at this point. The current state law, this is the last year that you can file it. I would also tell you, you filed and received one of these last year. Okay. In addition to removing it for 2026, they also made the process to even qualify and be awarded it much more stringent. Last year, it was a mathematical function. So there's a state average that you have to compare to, and it's a trailing 3-year. So you look at the trailing 3-year of the town versus trailing 3-year of the state. And if you exceed certain sort of mathematical averages, you qualify to even petition for the appeal. And then it is the best way I would frame it, a petition. It is not just because you mathematically qualify, it doesn't mean you get it. You have to kind of go through a dog and pony show of sorts. And this year they have taken those 4 questions to like 10 or 12, and they've looked at things. They're taking more of a scrutinous view on fund balances, reserves. So in other words, if a community asks for a growth appeal, but they've consistently added to their rainy day or added to their general cash every single year, that now is part of the application. You have to sort of disclose all that. So as budget consultant to you all, what I would tell you is the appeal is not a slam dunk. You qualify, you crushed it. I mean, I have never seen a 40% year over year growth rate for a community this size. I've never seen it. That's a doubling of every like 2 to 3 years, you're on a double trajectory. It's 10 times what the levy growth is. So you crush the qualification criteria mathematically. That enables you to at least petition that. The total amount of the money that would be petitionable on the town side is just short of 150,000, and it's 25,000 on the fire side. That is perpetual levy adjustment, and it will compound in the future. So
Much on the fire, I'm sorry.
yes, 25,113 to be specific. So as your financial advisor, I would encourage you to try to, do this for a couple of different reasons. One is this last year you can qualify under state law. Second is it is a mathematical based qualification. So if there are units that would have loved to do this, but did not qualify, okay? I would also tell you, it is not a slam dunk. Even if you qualify and you file the petition, as we learned last year, it's a back and forth conversation. So where that introduces risk from a budget perspective is we need to make sure that there are budget line items that are tied to and contemplating this appeal and contemplating that this appeal may or may not happen. I can also tell you from past appeals in other communities, things that are scored very poorly would be like one-time capital expenses, kind of general sort of statements of things just cost more, et cetera. They really want to see recurring operational cost burden that's really a derived impact as a result of the growth. So, departments that are really strained as a result of the growth that have clearly identifiable operating cost increment, that's really what I think is going to put you in the best position in the application. That application has to be approved and filed to them no later than October 21st, which is why we wanted to at least talk about it today. So that's levy growth. The one other thing Carmen mentioned, the tax rates. So if the current on tax rate in 2025 all in is just shy of 50 cents per $100 of net assessed valuation. It's specifically 0.4969. So yes. Yeah. So in that case, if you have a $200,000 home, gross assessed value, the home might be worth whatever on the market. The gross assessment from the assessor is $200,000. Right now, in current deductions, if that's a homestead property, you're probably actually only paying tax on probably $100,000 of that or so. Okay, because there's already homestead and supplemental deductions that bring that sort of gross AV down. It's that taxable net assessed value that the town's rate is applying to today. Okay. Right now, based on the growth that you have in AV, everything I just factored in, even with the appeal, we're showing that the town's tax rate falls just short of 5% year over year. And that's a lot of the actions you all have taken. For example, if we strip out the appeal and we strip out the most recent fire bond, a tax rate would have dropped 20% year over year. Okay. So that is what we mean about when we talk about that, because we come to you throughout the year and we talk about tax rate management. What that translates to is as you're going through periods of growth, the goal is to try to maintain a flat tax rate through periods of growth. What we don't want you to do 20 years from now is be a really big city with a really tiny tax rate. That is not a good situation. You've passed your sort of life cycle of growth and all those years of opportunity to sort of maintain a tax rate or reset a tax rate or maybe in your rearview mirror, and you have a very, very low tax rate. And to the extent that you have strained departments as well, I should qualify that. So, okay. So we talked about tax rate, we talked about appeal. As far as some funds that I would put on your radar as we look through, the good news is the town has very healthy reserves. So everything that has been moved around is really trying to make sure that we have the best foot forward with respect to the petition. Okay. So some of the funds movement into the general fund was to make sure that that was very clear and very straightforward, that all those kind of departmental expenses were kind of consolidated within one fund. You mentioned what is funding the general fund today. Well, it's receiving 100% of the maximum property tax revenue. So the normal property tax revenue is being receded to the general fund. It's also receiving nearly all of the local income tax. Those are the two primary revenue sources for that fund. As far as some like watch list things and other things to note. We talked about the local income tax. One of the reasons we moved things out of the edit fund is, when SB1 or the property tax reform impacted budget years from 2026 through no less than 2031. The bill, as it currently reads, systematically changes deductions automatically each year from 2026 to 2031. The net of all that is that we do expect tax rates across the board to increase over time as new deductions come online. Why I'm saying that is that same $200,000 assessed house today that has $100,000 worth of deductions, they're paying maybe tax on effectively 50% of their property today. By 2031, they will only be paying taxes on 30%, 33% of their property. So there will be a true actual reduction in net assessed value contributing to your tax base. Levies are not touched in the bill. So as I talked at the beginning, the tax rate is a formula output of levy divided by assessed value. So if the assessed value has pressure down over time and levy doesn't, you'll see tax rates across the state of Indiana tick up. What that translates to is circuit breaker, which we could spend a whole offsite training you on that. The one that I want to talk about today specifically is the new homestead credit. Any of your constituents, this is one of the things that is a direct benefit out of the bill to the taxpayer, is not only do they have new deductions phasing in between now and 2031, if there are rental properties or apartments, they have a whole new non-homestead deduction that never existed before, to deduct 1/3 of their property. In addition to all of that I just told you, you're familiar with like the accounting term, kind of above the line, below the line sort of language. There are new below the line credits. So these are in addition to tax cap credits that you were already kind of paying on behalf of the taxpayer. They were fully implemented in 2026, and that amount is $218,000. So if we would have made, in other words, if we would have just said, hey, let's adopt the 2025 budget for 2026, not make a single change, this credit would have mean that we would have had to take $218,000 out of the budget. Okay, because $218,000 of that property tax levy is now systematically being reduced as a result of a new homestead credit. That homestead credit is taxpayers get the lesser of 10% of their actual tax bill or a $300 statement credit. So for example, going back to that same $200,000 home, if I have a $2,000 annual tax bill all in, I'm going to get a $200 automatic 10% reduction in my taxes next year. If I have a $4,000 annual tax bill next year, I'm going to get a $300 statement credit. It maxes at $300 per homestead property starting next year, fully phased in. Deb will appreciate this. It's being accounted for essentially as new circuit breaker, right? So it essentially triples your circuit breaker for the town in 1 year. Okay. So when we talk about long-term impacts, this one certainly is new. The only silver lining is that there's no phase in. It's kind of a rip the Band-Aid off. We balanced the budgets largely with it in there, and it is an estimate. We won't know the full amount until tax bills go out in April of next year, but that's, it's a full phase in of that credit. The second one is by 2028, the entire amount of local income tax as it sits today goes to zero. That is a $1 million budget impact to the town of Whiteland as it sits today. But to say that again, that is the largest financial impact period of SB1. Everything else is sort of an order of magnitude less than the local income tax change in Senate Bill 1. So as it sits right now, if the town does not town and the county don't take action to replace the local income tax by the fall of 2027, essentially 100% of edit and your certified shares local income tax will go to zero starting in January 2028. So from a budget perspective, that is something that obviously concerns us. And when we think about sort of fire staffing tied to that revenue source, that is a concern, which is why you saw a shift from edit into general. We wanted to, one, make sure we had it there for the petition for the growth appeal. We also wanted to make sure that we had long-term funding, long-term stable funding, protecting those salaries. So now I'm throwing a lot at you. I'll open it up for questions here in a second. We talked about the appeal. We talked about lit, talked about homestead credit, talked about tax rate maintenance. Last thing I've got is really two funds that I would put on this sort of watch list would be, the fire department is again one that, we understand is sort of a long-term challenge that would certainly be appeal eligible, both not only for the fire position of the budget, but also the general portion of the budget. Two other funds that could be added into the petition and the request for the appeal in a period of growth, if it's merited, would be parks and street. Those are also within your sort of levy control. And there are funds that currently right now receive $0 in property tax and $0 in local income tax. So, for example, without any sort of change in that, their funding isn't just going to magically create itself. So it is very common for communities to have property tax levy going to parks and going to motor vehicle highway streets. And in a period of growth where you qualify for an appeal, those are good opportunities to at least ask the administration to say, hey, what would a budget for parks look like? What would a street budget look like if we were to allocate property tax to it? Today, you'd be allocating away from your general fund. So what I'm really talking about here is the appeal to get more money. You would want to tie to potentially fire, parks, and street. That's what I'm getting at. Okay. Let me pause there. Any questions for me as far as just like the high level we have a lot this year just because it's a result of SB1.
I appreciate the explanation. It's kind of hard to grasp, but understand some of the highlights, some of the important aspects that we need to concentrate on for sure.
Yeah, and I have had to work this myself to the point where it finally clicks. Unfortunately, the state talks a lot about transparency, and then they create a system that is just very hard to explain. So I'm giving you the absolute best kind of distilled version I can to help get the kind of concepts across. So that's sort of SB1. That's the high level. What I should also tell you is, as far as the action at the public hearing, the town has budgets far beyond these funds, right? Redevelopment, utilities, et cetera. Those are called home rule funds. Those are funds that you all kind of set and appropriate yourselves. Really, the action really the key point of this process is really looking at appropriating the levies and the tax rate for the town for funds that are tied to those property tax bills. So I want to be clear, everything we're doing is really just trying to make sure we get the levy optimized. That makes sense, make the most sense, do the best we can to get the property tax rate set and efficient. By January on the appropriation side, you'll have all the ability to amend, edit, do all the normal things. Really, the next two meetings are really just trying to make sure we get the levy or the property tax rate and the property tax funded budgets adopted through the state. Usually, typically, then once those are done, it's like the home rule funds would go through, like the redevelopment commission budgets, the utility budgets, et cetera. These are really the ones that you have an external bodies that you have to kind of hand budgets off to. Everything else is really a local act. I think that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm open to meet or talk to anybody virtually or in person between now and adoption. The adoption deadline this year, on top of my head, I believe is November 1st. So you have really between tonight and then to make a final action. If you don't make a final action by then, the budget reverts to this year. So the levies, tax rates, all those things would revert to this year's budget. Just again, for those funds that are levy controlled. Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Appreciate it. Melissa, can we adjust the air?
You got the heat on?
It's super hot.
The batteries are. Batteries.
It's hot.
Go next door and go back.
Great.
Yeah, Adam's on the hot seat.
I know.
Probably need to have a public hearing.
We'll go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance 2025-12, the budget for 2026.
And we do need to remember that participants.
Correct. So is anybody in the audience would like to ask questions? Speak on behalf of this? Going once, going twice?
Yeah, Alan Whitaker.
Do we have to
Could-
swear him in?
Could you come in up here, sir? Thank you. Nobody's online.
Alan Whitaker, Whiteman resident, 426 Whiteman Road, Brewer Street, Princeton. Bunch of stuff I don't know, Whiteman. Will you explain to everybody how much the state actually gives the town of property tax? And it used to average, when I was on the town council, we got 3 pennies out of every dollar.
As far as how much comes into the town versus the,
The state itself.
Oh, I see.
What it is on part of the pie, because if anything hasn't changed, you're gonna have 3 pennies out of every dollar that everybody complains about. My property taxes going up.
Yeah.
So you're right, but license branch, parks, you have
Libraries,
like schools and your.
County.
And then the town gets.
township, county.
But the town gets 3 pennies. Is that still about the average?
I'd say it's magnitude.
So when you ask, where's our budget come from? 3 pennies out of every dollar.
Yep.
That's about your easiest way to figure it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Angie, nobody's online. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
It's just introduction. Even
Right, although Carmen, can you kind of explain or address how you perceive the status of the ordinance? You know, on the agenda, we have an ordinance number that's attached to it. But you started off by saying that we weren't really ready for the ordinance to be presented.
It will be.
Address that.
Right, so I asked Melissa to provide us, last year, it's the Form 4.
Yeah.
And when she pulled those numbers today, they did not translate to what we've got in front of on the Form A or Form 1, Form 3, and Form 4B. So it is 2025-12, but it will mirror, did you provide them the Form 3 that's on the door? I had asked, okay.
Yeah, I have.
Thank
At
you.
Form 3 that's on the door of what we're advertising. We may have some adjustments because we just made some adjustments yesterday. But it would be what is presented to you on that cover sheet that I gave you today. That is what will be on the Form 4. So that, like I said, when she pulled that today from DLGF, it didn't translate
This one?
into the correct, yes. With the zeroed out on edit too, so.
From a procedural requirement standpoint, you're at the September meeting of the council. You have an October meeting, regular meeting. How does this issue play in terms of what our requirements are? Because I wrote down that November 1 was our adoption deadline, which would precede our normal November council meeting. Can you speak to that, Adam?
Yeah, and this typically what we would see is like this is your public hearing, at your next meeting, we would have a final version that matches the adopted budgets on that Form 4. That's what they would sign. So if you took action at your next meeting, either for or against, that's where we would log that on. That would be the ordinance. It's basically that is the signed version, would then be what's uploaded to the state.
We don't have to vote tonight.
I do not, I will defer to Stephen on that, but we would usually see voting occur at the adoption, the adoption meeting.
Yeah, I agree with that we don't need to vote tonight. My concern, I'd like to cover the bases, is the two meeting rule
Yeah.
on ordinances being adopted. And it'd be best if we could consider this meeting as having the ordinance introduced and presented.
Right, and normally when you see an ordinance, you have your first like that you get the Word document that we receive, it'll have like first hearing, and then you will make a vote. This one it only has, it comes from the state. It's a form that comes from the state, so you all only sign it the one time. And so there isn't even a first reading and a vote that's put on that Form 4. It's literally, is it adopted, yay, nay? And then you all sign it. So.
What I'm thinking about is, if I heard you correctly, and verify this for me, I think you mentioned that the budget Form 3 that has been provided to the council is in substance the same as what Form 4 will contain.
There's been some minor revisions of which
Subject to that.
memo today that was at your seats highlights the changes of how the Form 3 will be revised.
Form 3 intentionally is, think about it as not to exceeds, so that
Right.
it would be with certainty that the adopted budgets will be within all of those amounts.
You can go less, but you can't go more.
I think you sent me Form 4.
Sent today, but it was incorrect.
Okay.
There was new printed.
Form 4 looks like
4B.
that. Form 3 looks like this.
Well, it may be that we should consider having a special meeting later this month or in October to formally present and introduce the ordinance 2025-12 so that we can make sure we check that box, unless we think we're comfortable with getting a unanimous.
Well, there's a time frame. You have to wait at least 10 days before you have the next one.
Between the introduction and
So-
so suspending the rules is not an option on budget
The
order.
notice, the 10-day notice is for the public hearing, and that was the Form 3. So
Okay.
that got you to tonight. Now it's really just an adoption between how many times you want to see. If the ordinance needs to be on the agenda twice, if they need to see it twice, then you only have one regularly scheduled meeting, I'm understanding right between now and February 1st. Then I would say either one, we need to try to figure out a way to print the corrected version of it right now, or look to get a special meeting.
Here's what was printed today.
Okay.
So it doesn't have anything except for our debt.
Mr. Watson, can you introduce it by title only?
I don't feel comfortable with that. I think we have to have at least something substantive.
Can it be like draft?
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's within
And-
the Form 3.
And if nothing else,
It's gonna be different because you haven't adopted it.
right, what I'm getting at is if you can even hand
Yeah.
what you have in front of you as Form 4 that has the ordinance number in it. Get them consistent. I don't know how easy that would be.
You know, right now.
Then we could present it to the council and
Yeah.
consider it introduced.
Form 3 is all I ever handed out because that's the max. You can go.
Right. But to make sure we cover our bases.
He's protecting us.
That's
All right, I'm gonna.
it.
You have anything else on your agenda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then
What
I
we
have-
should do is come back to this.
Yes, we have to get to work.
And also, I was gonna say, we could, after tonight's meeting, not make a final decision about the legal status of the introduction or not introduction and whether we need a special meeting or not. But we can, after the meeting later in the next few days or whatever, make a determination as to whether what we have done tonight satisfies all the requirements to be able to simply adopt the final version in October and not spend more time tonight trying to figure out the best way to do that. With the exception of if we can get a hand version prepared, which Adam is working on, that'll make it a lot easier.
So we're gonna circle back around.
Yep, that's my recommendation.
Fine. Waiver request, Culvers?
So y'all keep asking, where's the Culvers, where's the Culvers? So we've been trying to work through the stormwater detention, retention, and the release rates. All of which, as you recall, IDEM revised the release rates that all of us adopted across the state, including the county. So with the county legal drain being right there by the property, the Culvers folks had to go to the Johnson County Drainage Board. They received approval last Tuesday, September 2nd. They requested a waiver from the standards that were set by the state. And so the County Drainage Board approved that, and now they're before this body to request the same waiver of requirements for the stormwater. Chris McGuire is here on behalf of Culvers to speak. If you guys have any questions, formality that, again, IDEM set these release rates. If you can't meet them, you have to receive a waiver. They've received it from the county. We have the same standards as the county. And so, like I said, it just has to come before this body to request the waiver of the standards.
Council, have any questions? You guys like to speak to this individual at all? Hear from him?
County approves it, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm not particularly concerned about it.
Tim, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
No, Brad?
Thank you.
No, okay. So do we vote on that then?
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion? Stormwater waiver request for
Make a motion for stormwater waiver request for Culvers. Approved. Be approved, just so.
I'll second.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Saylor, and a roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Joe Decker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes,
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
Thank you.
sorry you had to sit and wait for that.
Good fit out of it, it's fine.
Hey, Carmen.
So next up was the discussion on the maximum levy, the appeal. I don't think, unless you guys have any other questions, I think we can move on from that.
Well, before you move on, is there a need for the council to make a decision either now or later? They can do it later. Okay.
The deadline was October 20th or 21st. So we have, 21st. We don't have to make any decisions tonight. We'll come back with the application completed with the 10, 12 questions that we have to fluff. So, provide substantial information on how we need a levy appeal. The next step is the dedication of right-of-way of Warrior Trail. Most of you are aware the dead end of Warrior Trail with a county property. The request that the town went and made was that they make a cul-de-sac down there so that the semis, when they get down there, they don't get stuck and have to back all the way out. So they have installed, the Shanna Truck property has installed the cul-de-sac there. They're still waiting on signage that says no parking, because now it's just made a really nice parking lot for the semis. So we're in the process of putting signage up. So then if we need to call police and say that they're parking on a road, we have the recourse to take care of that. But with that, I had come to you all with the maintenance bonds at a previous meeting, but now we need to have the dedication of the right-of-way of Warrior Trail. They're dedicating a portion of their property that now that cul-de-sac sits on to the town of Whiteland to become our property. So this would be pending legal review. If you accept this dedication of right-of-way, Stephen did get me some items later this afternoon as far as some back and forth that we need to, some red lines that we need to go back to the Shanna Truck property folks before we actually sign the documents, but asking for once we get through all the legal items that we can sign this and take that on as our right-of-way.
So the signs that we're waiting to be installed have nothing to do with the right of way,
No,
doesn't interfere with.
no, it's actually on the bonds part, but
Questions, concerns about this topic?
But we're taking the cul-de-sac as our right of way, right?
it was our road before,
Right.
and then we asked them to expand the road.
So we'll be responsible for the roundabout,
Correct. Well, it's a cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac, excuse me.
Yep.
On plowing, maintenance and everything.
It'll give us a good place for our trucks to even turn around and plow. So they won't have to back up. So it was a very narrow road.
Did they put that in according to our street standards, depth, stones and everything?
Yes. We had to go out there and make sure, but we got them to for our standards because they were trying to cut corners.
That's what I was curious. I didn't know if you had a core drill to test or you guys witnessed it.
They were out there.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept application, subject to, legal review and approval by council.
Have a second?
Second. Go ahead, Brad.
Joe and Brad, a roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Conflict of interest, is that you, Mr. Watson?
Yes. And we have, I believe, just one submitted by Lindsay Raker, firefighter. And I believe this is an annual disclosure. Yes. Name of the contractor, Lindsay Raker. Description of the contract is work with family, Scott Raker, Doug Rake, I'm mispronouncing that, but and Cole Rake. I think it's all just, they're all in the fire department, just disclosing that. The gist of it, I believe. Description of my financial interest is none. That's,
So they're all whole family of firefighters?
um,
There's a couple still coming up, but yes, they're all firefighters.
Does it appear to be
Uh,
substantially?
substantially in.
I'll move to approve of Raker's, conflict of interest form.
Well, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Brad, you wanted to discuss?
I wanted to bring up with the rest of the council. It's been probably more than a year since we had a discussion about trying to work with New Whiteland to find solutions to problems, encourage more partnership, identify if there's opportunity to be more community. We are one community, but one community in governance instead. And so I wanted to bring that back up to you to see if there was any opposition with asking Mr. Watson to establish, direct him to have conversation with his colleague on the New Whiteland side, and asking Carmen to make some formal contact to perhaps the council and some of the town employees on the New Whiteland side about helping us to understand what it would take to put the towns together, or, seeing if basically that would start with trying to identify if it would be financially advantageous for the towns. We learned earlier from listening to Adam talk about the budget that our abilities are going to be very limited on how we're able to grow the tax base or the percentage base moving forward. And one of those would be annexation. And so perhaps this, would be something, this would be a process, a many-year process. I would imagine that would a number or all of us would not even be on the council floor when it would potentially come to fruition. So you got to start somewhere. And so I want to find out from you if there's any appetite for this. Certainly there is for me. And so I'd like to provide them direction so we can kind of figure out, okay, what would it take? Be some looking up and finding out other municipalities that have done something similar. And then to try to find, create a study that would determine if there would be a financial incentive for our residents or if it would not. And so I would like to do that. I wanted to find out from anybody else if they are opposed to that.
Well, we've already created a resolution.
Yeah.
Once and sent it over to them and they said no. So we've already made the first step before. And because we were willing to just, that was just to even talk about it. That's all it was. And they would have nothing to do with it.
What does that have to do with today, right now, asking you this? Because my recollection is the last time we had any discussion about this, it was specifically said by you, now is not the time.
Well, hold on. Okay, so let's lower the temperature a little bit. Okay.
What do you mean? I'm having a discussion. I'm
I know,
asking a
but you're-
question.
Okay, but your voice elevate a little bit, so let's just, please.
Okay, I won't bring it to the level you did, Richard, a couple meetings ago, so that's fine.
Okay, so I said, I'm the one that made the comment about the timing. It wasn't Deb, it was me. And the reason I made the comment about the timing is because our reconciliation of our books was way off. To my understanding, we are still not reconciled. So we still have an issue with, even if this caught traction and had dialogue, the first step is going to be inquiring about somebody's financial status, the P&L, the balance sheets, because I'm going to ask the same question that they're going to ask. And we're not there. Are we reconciled?
Well, I
That would
mean,
be a question for Mr. Stone, I believe.
Yeah, through July.
I'm working on July.
So through June, I apologize. Through June 2025 is reconciled.
I reached out to Mr. Perrin.
Mhm.
Okay. He has no idea about this conversation.
why would he?
Which conversation are we talking about?
The conversation that you brought up last month. You said to me, be ready.
Yeah, I said I was gonna bring it up and have this conversation, like, so we could.
Well, I know, but
Move forward.
has there been any inquiry to see if they're interested in this? Or are we just one-sided going to them?
Well, I think Brad is proposing, as I understood it, was for us to reach out with an inquiry to see if they were interested. Unless I misunderstood that.
No. You understood it.
I mean, I feel the same way I have about it all the way through. I think there's a lot of ways that it makes a lot of sense, but both municipalities have to be on board about it. I have not seen nothing wrong with us having someone to reach out to them, to see if they're interested in having a dialogue about it at this point. Obviously, if it were to ever happen, it's a pretty complex multi-step process. But the first step in it is seeing if they have an interest in, basically looking at feasibility. I don't have any problem with having someone reach out to them. I know that when we had our attorney reach out to them one time previously, they did not like us doing it that way. So I guess I suggest that we we do it a different way. But I mean, asking them if they're interested in talking about it doesn't cost us anything. It's a pretty de minimis step, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't do it.
I'm okay with asking about it. But my biggest thing is we need to ask the community what they want. I mean, if the community wants it, then I think that's something we should look into and offer to see what the community wants, because we represent the community. We're 5 people, but the community is really what should make the decision whether we go forward, send out a ballot or something and say, hey, we're thinking about this. What is your thoughts about it? Give the community a chance to open up and let us know what is going on, because the community is one who put us up here. If the community is not all for it, then is it something that we'd want to push through if the community is not backing our decision?
And so what I'm suggesting is we don't know
Correct.
what it means. So like, we're trying to get information to provide to the community, as you just said, Tim, so that way they're the decision makers, not us.
Correct.
Okay, so we have to move forward and say, hey, we've learned stuff. This seems very advantageous. Here's why I think it's a great idea. Can we put this on a ballot? This is talking like years down the road, like not tomorrow. Like, we're not voting on anything. We're trying to provide direction to like the town team here to like get things moving. And so ultimately, I imagine the point is we're going to have to have a study performed that like helps us identify, here are positives to doing this, here are negatives. Overall, here's the financial picture. And I mean, if the financial picture comes back that it's much more expensive, we lose services or something like that, clearly, who would have an appetite for that? But if it comes back, hey, we're going to be able to consolidate here, and the amount of tax revenue that goes to, help support the combined town, if you will, is much less. I mean, I think it would be fantastic. I hope that would be the answer, but I don't know. And so like the point, like what I'm trying to bring up is like, yeah, let's see if they have an appetite to like get some information so we can then begin that process of working on it, find that out.
So is that something that we would have? Because like Joe said, when the attorney does it, they didn't like that very well. Is that something that Carmen is going to reach out there because she's our new town manager? Is that something that she's going to be over, or is that something the council's going to be over? Because I don't care. If it was good and the public wants it, and it's great for Whiteland and New Whiteland, I'm all for it. But I don't want to spend a lot of money if it's not going to have any traction and cost the town money that we could put elsewhere if it's going to just fizzle out. And that's my concern right there, is just making sure that the public's aware that this is what it is. Because the rumors out there, I go to church with one of the councilmen in Bureau over. He's aware of what's been said. Neither one, haven't got an answer from him. But I just don't see that. I'd like to see us spend a lot of money on it if Carmen makes a call and says, hey, or you make a call. If the council's okay with you making a call or someone and say, hey, we're talking about this in our meeting. What is your thoughts on it? It's a free conversation. And if they're interested in it, then you bring it back and then you'll say, hey, yes, I talked to these guys. You guys are interested in it now. What is your opinion? Do you think we should invest a little time and a little effort into it to do it? I have no problem with that. I just don't want to spend a lot of money on something that might not have much traction. That's the only thing I was concerned about, and not bringing the townspeople in and letting them be aware of what's going on. Because I'm fine with either way. I think it'd be nice if we could all work as one and be one. I mean, that's going to change council. It's probably going to put 7 people on council. I mean, it's going to do districts. It's going to really change a lot of things. And like you said, it'd probably be voted on when we're gone. I have no problem with someone asking if they would entertain the thought.
Carmen, would you have a problem talking to some of your contacts over there and their council and seeing what kind of appetite they have to move forward? And
I think it's worth a conversation. I can certainly have conversations with the council members, but I also feel like if the decision has to start with the council, obviously I don't have any voting, say. So it would probably be good to have a representative from this council kind of, I mean, I can start the conversation. They do not have a day-to-day operations individual, but I know all the council members and I do not have a problem reaching out to them. And I'll just say that we have a lot of duplication of equipment. That's one big thing that I could see this being for the betterment. Another example is Whiteland Road from US 31 to Centerline Road. We split the road. So what do? Do we just pave one half of it? Do they pave one half? You know, like, so there's a lot of things where, and it's, my biggest thing is nobody knows where they live. We all have the same zip code. So that's always been a thing. And, you know, for me, you know, I can't speak for public safety, but I can speak as a resident of I lived in New Whiteland at the time. If I called an emergency, 911 or my neighbor did, I didn't care what the side of the sticker said on the vehicle, as long as somebody responded. And I think that, you know, the departments do work together. I know I can only speak for the public works. I know that the fire chief and police chief could talk a little bit more on their specific departments, but on public works, I call them almost weekly and say, hey, can we come look at equipment? Can we borrow equipment? Vice versa. We need to show a little partnership, and we do that. I think egos get in the way, and we need to do what's right for the community and our citizens, not.
I agree.
egos.
I agree.
I'm open to having the conversation. I do feel like it would be important to have one of the town council member, as you all are the elected body, to be a part of that conversation as well.
If Brad would like, I'd be more than happy to go with Brad. If you would like Brad and I to take care of it, to help you guys out, or you guys can. I don't mind stepping up and doing it if that's something you'd be interested in, Brad and I looking into it. I mean, that's your guys' call. Someone, like Carmen said, should be there.
Yeah, no, this has been an issue that I think is important. And I've had people talk to me about it over the course of a number of years now. And so like, I think we should move forward and trying to, you know, seeing what kind of appetite and what the possibilities are. So yes, I'd be happy to continue to have conversations. I did speak with one of their council members in the last 2 weeks and seemed receptive. So
Would that be something you guys would entertain to let Brad and I?
I don't care.
And that way you guys got other stuff to do. As long as it's not costing and it's just a conversation, I have no problem doing it.
I'm on board with.
They might even just come out and say, yeah, it's probably not the right time for us. Then it ends right there. But at least if we're there with Carmen or something, we got a bird's eye view on it. If that would be all right with Carmen. And if you set up a time, just even if it's during the day, let me know and I'll take some time off work to be there.
thanks.
Town manager report.
I do not have any action items this time, but I will tell you, I've got quite a few of the department heads here, and you'll start to see more information coming in your packets. Jesse put together a sewer department report and a kind of overview for you that we got today, but we'll get better as we kind of continue on. I have some building permit numbers, but we'll kind of start providing that information to you more on a monthly basis. But if you guys have any questions for me, let me know.
Did we still need to circle back to the budget ordinance?
I got questions for Carmen before we do that, you don't mind. Chance.
The sheds, so one department has inquired and would like one of the sheds. We're working through transporting that to its new home. Then what the plan was is to take those other sheds, and we've got values on them, and sell them. Put them out and we'll advertise them to anybody that.
And how long are we gonna advertise them before that place is done and moved on and no sheds?
To see if we have to formally, if there's a process. I mean, they're not valued at a lot of money.
No, they're not.
I would like to see them gone before the end of the year.
I would.
Most of them. Can I keep one?
Where?
Like back here?
Back next to the alley. About the next to the alley, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, because that should be an open area if we ever have a concert or anything that people should sit, because the sheds are no longer use for us.
Right.
Another question,
Yes.
our storage building in front of Chadlow.
So we got a quote for that. One was a metal shed, which does not meet, or not a metal shed, a metal building, but that does not meet our code as far as approved exterior. 11,000.
Correct, so $12,400.
And if we would do something more similar to the building that is there, it's upwards of $30,000. So I've asked Armando to go back to the drawing board and see what us doing the block wall and to reach out to Bargersville, of which he met with Kevin Killinger today, to talk through what we can do to be more cost efficient on that. Because I can't imagine why it would cost $30,000, but I'm not in the construction business. So.
And I'm just concerned because it is getting worse.
Well, I'll go buy the cinder blocks and figure out a trowel and some.
I'll come and help. How's that? At least they'll make them happy and the neighbors will stop asking me about it. Because it is, and they ask me about it all the time. When are we, because now it's starting to cave in.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they can open the door, Steve.
So my point is, if we don't have to have it because it's spring, get it out of there, at least clean the area up. I mean, it looks awful going into Chadlow. I understand that Chadlow's an older addition, but then people deserve a nice entrance too. And it's not nice on the eyes and they're getting a little upset over it. And I'm the one who has to answer them when they come to the house and ask me, why are we still leaving that?
I'll get the supplies and then we can do a,
We'll do a weekend thing, put it out for volunteers. How's that? Maybe we could do a scout project.
that's a great idea.
To get your, I can't remember what it's
Girl
called.
Scouts.
Eagle Scout badge. Yeah, we did that at Proctor. I helped them do a project. One more.
Alright.
Fire hydrants,
Fire hydrant.
fire hydrants,
Paint them.
painting.
So again, the conversation today with Bargersville is they have a hydrant scrubber. And so working through again, could we borrow equipment instead of having to go out and buy our own? And coming up with a plan to get them refurbished or refreshed.
Okay, we do that. So that's why I was just curious because
That'd be another
I
project.
talked to Aaron.
Paint and the brushes and rollers and we'll just have a.
We're spray cans. We'll do it spray cans. It's much easier.
All right,
Very much.
anybody else? Back to the.
Here, this is
Pass it along.
an updated version of ordinance 2025-12. And Adam, you want to just give a high level of what they're being presented?
Yeah, so this is a form of what will be presented. Like, obviously, you just were introduced the budget tonight. You have to explain all these different forms. Form 3, which was the notice to taxpayers of tonight's public hearing, set not to exceed amounts, both the fund level budgets as well as the fund level tax rates that could apply. This is the sort of iteration of that. It has the budget column is as presented to you all. This ties to the Form 1s, Form 4Gs that you were provided for your packets tonight. The tax rates are still elevated. As we mentioned, our tax rate that we have today is about 0.5 cents. We do, even if you receive the appeal, we expect that to drop down to 0.475. So these are still elevated estimates, but the budgets are as drafted. And if you make any other changes between now and adoption, we'll reflect that at your next meeting. And otherwise, this would be the form of what would be signed. And before we leave the next meeting with the signed copies, we'll take a scan of that. That's what we will ultimately upload to the stage as part of the final columns. So hope that helps. It is subject to change. If you, for example, if you reduce the budget at the next meeting, we'll correspondingly make the adjustments on this form.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Mr. Watson, since we have this,
Since you have it, it's introduced and we've satisfied that requirement.
satisfying the requirement. Okay, we don't need to do anything. We're gonna do that in October, right? Good. Mr. Polly, do you have anything, sir?
Can you hear everyone? Just gonna give you a little bit of an August summary, for the police department. We had 328 reported incidents, 50 traffic citations, 20 warnings. Sunday night, I got called out for a pretty serious, call for, basically it was a subject that was involved in attempted homicide, and we were able to get to the house, get the subject. He wasn't taken into custody that instant, but critical evidence was located. All this in our town. The subject that was involved, the shooter in this incident was arrested somewhere else. But the other subject was involved heavily with it. On Monday, I think that was actually Saturday night, on Monday morning, they had to talk to their DA of arrest warrant were given to us to go pick him up, so we picked this guy up over in Bargersville. Just thought that was an important thing. Our department, all of our officers did a great job. Went in there and got this thing, got him out of our town and Pennsylvania, where he's gonna stand trial for that mess. So, any questions on that?
I'm glad you guys are safe.
Yeah. We have a safe town. I want to thank anybody who had anything to do with the trailer. I think it's a good deal to get that back out on the street, the radar trailer. I had several good comments about it, so thanks. Armando was in on it, I know for sure. And anybody else that was in on it, thank you. Got it fixed up, got it out there on the streets. We've had it 3 or 4 places. And one particular residence that complains a lot about speeding, he was very happy to see it there. Just wanted to bring that up.
Does that keep any statistics or data? Like for people that have, that way you maybe need to put a car there or something, or how's that work?
Does keep statistics, I believe, or used to. We bought this in 2006, I believe, and it's outdated. All I can say is it's really outdated. They make newer ones now that you can do anything with. We've not hooked it to a computer. The computer terminal is kind of rusted on it. It's been through the tornado and everything else. So I guess I got to be brave enough to put it in there. We just did get it going here towards the end of the month or the middle of the month. So that's something I'd like to look into and see if it does, how much it records or what information it does put out. But it's just been, like I said, I've had several comments. People that are driving by are like, yeah, I'm just glad to see, so it's just been a good thing. And I appreciate the town getting on it. As soon as I said that I wanted to do that, they were all over it. So
Nice to see you out there.
yeah. Also, that was the good news. I had some good news for tonight. So, I got one more thing. I take that back. Chief ship around still?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm safe. I just wanted to let anybody know, and I don't even know if the intern would do something like this, but I just wanted to put it in your minds. Tesla has reached out, possibly looking at some type of a police option vehicle from Tesla. I don't even know if I would be on board with this, but I thought I should bring it to everybody's attention that they reached out and said that they wouldn't mind doing some sort of testing or just to see what they could do with police car wise.
That'd be like a donation or a
No.
temporary?
No, I think. I wish. No, I think they do have a lot of good facts, I think, with Tesla. And I talked to Bargersville a little bit about them. There are some positive benefits to it and probably some negative side, you know. But it's just something I thought maybe I should bring up and let you know it's out there. If you're interested in it, either we can look into it later or talk or have someone talk to her about possibly at least having her bring it down. We can review what all it does. I know that they have cameras built in, like squad cars now, like a camera system for a squad car is probably $5,000 or more, 7, I don't know. But they have them already in their cars. Obviously fuel, they get up to 360 miles now on a charge. They do make a quick charge that can be charged in, I want to say around 45 minutes.
Very expensive.
And yeah, and they're expensive.
Very, very.
They usually only have one of them.
Charging it.
Bargersville has one. But they do charge quick and the other ones charge, obviously like an 8-hour period. But, I just thought it was something maybe we could look at. If it does pose a saving to the tap or for gas and the police department found, whatever. That's really all I have.
Thank you.
I have a quick update for the fire. Chief Funkhauser wasn't able to be here. He had to be in Morgan County for the budget for their portion that he covers over in that county. But the new engine has been received. It is in the fire station, not in service yet, but just an update. We will be planning a push-in ceremony, which is customary and traditional for fire departments as they welcome a new piece of apparatus into the fleet. So they will be planning that. So that was his main update.
Who's going to be the first person to drive it?
Well, to drive it back from Michigan. So,
He's the first one?
yeah, so he make the trip down from South Haven.
I'll just scratch it, get it over with.
Thank you. Public Works, anybody speaking on behalf of Public Works? No? Water, sewer? Oh, Steve?
Good evening, everybody.
Evening?
All right. So I've come before you tonight to ask you to authorize Harmon to sign an agreement for our booster station. That is what feeds water to all the warehouses and now the lower departments. It was originally installed with just Amazon. So it has not since been reprogrammed. Since then, we have added 15 taps to it. That's including lower, not their individual buildings. So Carl, do they have this in their packet?
They said,
Okay.
yes, and proposal
Yeah.
should have been in your packet.
Joining me tonight is Scott from ESM. Answer any questions you have over what the service agreement is, the remote access, rental equipment, and the retuning of the station itself.
Retuning. What does that consist of?
So, Scott, you're better at explaining that part. Basically, with our fire flow and stuff.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about, because I know there's not a lot out there.
So when we first put the station in, like 5 years ago, only thing out there was Amazon. Now there's been many other warehouses, more domestic tied into everything. And so the hydraulics have changed in the system. So now instead of just, before you were just running a jockey pump basically to supply water to the warehouse for bathrooms, sinks. Well, now it's much more than that. So we've went from the jockey to the medium-sized pumps. But it's right there on the edge. It keeps going back and forth. So what we need to do is come in, retune to make the medium-sized pump come on, and then go back down to the jockey pump.
The programming, basically.
Yeah,
What size line feeds that up there all the way from here? An 8 or a 12?
I believe it's a 12.
Okay.
Comes out of Southbrook South.
Okay, my question is fire flow is a big thing out there. And that, is this gonna help with the fire flows and all that with the sprinklers and stuff like that? Because that is a concern. We know that there's not a lot out there, so that's my biggest concern, is making sure they have the water to fight the fires, because there are a lot of people out that way.
Yeah, so when they do the fire pump testing, they demand like 3,000 gallons a minute within 30 seconds.
Correct.
So what we do is we look at the pressure of your system, and if it drops 20 PSI fast, we turn everything on the station and run at full speed.
Okay, so what does that do to our in-town now? Because when we bust the main now in Park Forest, I lose water in Chadlow because we can't get something shut down. And we've lost a lot of water in Chadlow over this. So my concern is, if we're pumping water so fast out there, what's it gonna do to our town residents in our lines here? Because I do know if you pull too much, you can cave these lines in.
Now there is what we call a low suction cutout on the station. So when it gets down so low, we slow the motors down. So you can't start the system and go into a boil. So when it gets down to 25 PSI for 60 seconds, we just start slowing everything down. And if it gets down lower than that, we shut everything off.
Because it's 20 pounds is regulated to make you do a boil ordinance. Anything below 20 pounds, you have to do it. You gotta do a boil advisory. Send out and let everybody know that they're on advisory notice, pull samples and stuff. My biggest concern is we need to really keep an eye on town by pumping all that water out there too. So as long as we can catch a happy medium on our end, because I know I've lived it. I lost a water heater and everything from losing water constantly. And I had to come in and replace all of it myself. But I do know when we have issues, it seems like we hit it hard in town. And I just want to make sure that we're making preparations for that. That way
So
we keep.
the way I understand it, looking at the schematics and everything, with the way this station is set up, we have that 456,000 gallon tank there.
Yes.
The pumps are drawn from first. They are not drawing directly from our system. So it's only, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only going to receive as much water as our system pressure here in town is pushing it. It is not going to pull on directly, so it should not directly affect us here.
It only pulls in the first like 15 seconds, because remember we had the problem when we turned everything on. We didn't have enough flow out of the tanks, so they put a check valve in, a swing check. So basically we pull from the system and pull from the tank within the first like 30 seconds just to get that adequate pressure, and then it closes back.
So are you going to do a test run on this and then check it and make sure? Because what I would think we'd do as a water company, if we're going to pull pressure out there, I think we'd have a gauge on the hydrant in town and monitor that to see how much pressure we lose in town once we start kicking them pumps on. That way we maintain at least 20 to keep us above. That would be my concern, is just making sure that we had a gauge on an inner hydrant when we did do the test to make sure that we're not draining so much from the town. That's the only thing.
Yeah, we could do that. And we could do it also if you got a place in town too. If you got a low pressure somewhere out in the system, we can see what we need to maybe bump it up to get that pressure higher out there further in the system.
Right.
Because when we first did all this, there was nothing there.
Right.
So, yeah.
And we all knew growth was coming. I mean, we knew that you got to make preparations. I'm just trying to really take care of our in town with all the water the trouble we've had in the past of dealing with that and stuff. Like I said, I think everybody's doing a good job. I'd just like to make sure that we stay up with that.
I just want to add something real quick. Remember, we have a capital improvement list.
Yep.
And on that is a second connection point to Indiana American Water that would then feed directly and create a loop out there at the warehouses to where it would feed that directly. And then it would almost, I want to say, put the booster station out of, commission kind of thing, but it would open up a couple opportunities. That would be the primary source point coming from that second connection to feed those industrial. But then in the event where that booster station is, say that there's a fire or a demand for water, then that booster station would work in tandem with the second connection point. It also would allow us to expand and the ground storage tank to add more rings. So right now we're at 407,000 gallons, but we have the opportunity to add 200,000 more gallons out there.
Because we can push it from that second condition.
Stay down until we have that second connection point. So just be mindful of that larger project that's.
Right, and I do remember that. That was one of my concerns. That's why I thought I'd just say something if we're gonna test it. It'd be interesting to see what it does in town for your records, for when we do get a second connection, to see how much it increased everything in town. Is what I was curious about. Because I know in Chedlow, we don't have a lot of pressure. It's not great, it's not bad, but you can tell it's low. Like a power washer, when you run a power washer, gotta wait a few minutes when you kick it on, you know. I understand that. And like I said, I work for a water company too. So I understand a little bit about it. So that's why I'm just curious to make sure we stay up with Old Town, okay? I appreciate you guys. I really do.
It's Steve. So we added 15 taps.
Yes, you have.
So increasing this remote access and pumps, I mean, how much more access, how much more capacity will we have with this addition?
This is not increasing capacity. This is a retuning of a station that was designed for one warehouse.
So just retuning, just to make it more efficient?
Yeah, more or less it's going for like more buildings and everything. They're gonna be able to go and retune it so that the system's going to detect that drop in pressure quicker and be able to engage those fire pumps much faster and get the water to them much quicker.
Okay, so are you looking to, you're not looking to rent the remote equipment access, so you're looking at to purchase, I guess, or lease?
So
What exactly is your ask here and the total?
So the ask is for A, B, and C. So the remote access will be for them to be able to access it. Say we had encounter.
Yeah, this big access it in the warehouse.
Okay, so we encounter an issue in the middle of the night.
Which is.
I've personally called Scott. I believe
Be messing with this if we're. With Steve, that's the.
he's been able to walk me through it. But then we've also hit issues where there is no remote login. They are not able to log in. So then we have to pay a service call just for come out and plug the computer in. So this gives them the ability to access it at any point. And during the retuning process, they'll be able to go in, hey, we noticed that we're having this issue at this time of day, and they're able to look at the peak demand flow and make slight adjustments.
Like SCADA.
Yeah, we're
More or
gonna,
less.
when we do the retuning, we're gonna watch the station over 2 weeks. And we'll be watching it in the middle of the night, peak hours of the day, and try to best set the station to your scenarios at different times. Because there's 6 pumps in that station, 2 jockeys, 2 medium pumps, and 2 high flow. So we stage all these on according to what your system's doing. And sometimes during lunchtime, you may have to run a medium pump instead of a jockey pump, or 2 jockey pumps. So this will help us set up all the scenarios you have going on. And then if he has problems in the middle of the night, he can call the programmer. He can usually go in there and say, hey, this tripped or this broke, and he knows what to look at. Instead of having to have somebody come out, even though I live in Center Grove, so it's a short distance.
So you're about 15 grand, and then do you have a contingency? Are you asking for like a 10% contingency just so you don't come back to the council, or is this a flat where you're at?
Flat.
Yeah, it's flat.
That's flat.
That's good.
That's what we're gonna pay.
Yeah.
So do these pumps kick on every so often to keep the maintenance ability to them? Like where periodically one pump could pick on versus this pump, that way parts are staying lubricated, adjusted. Do we have a service contractor what takes care of the pumps and make sure they're maintenance properly?
Well, that's what the service agreement's for.
That's why I was curious.
Come in once a year, we go through everything, we create a record. We check voltages, amp loads, vibrations. We flow the pumps, make sure they're on pump curve, make sure they're on the curve. I don't know which utility you're with, but the utility close to you had an impeller problem. They didn't know it. Impellers went out, had to wait. It was like 6 weeks for the impellers. We started doing a maintenance agreement. We found out this year the impellers are bad again and we got them replaced before everything failed.
I agree with the maintenance thing. We started doing that on some of our wastewater, having a third party company come in and check our rotaries, our big fans and everything. And it actually's worked out for that side. So I have no problem with the maintenance thing on like something like that, because it is a you know, we might catch something before it becomes a problem. Yeah, I like it. I do. I mean,
So to answer your Hill, Mr. Hill, or answer your question, Mr. Hill, we're asking for the 14,803.50 to go with options A, B, and C.
Motion to approve.
Well, I have a question financially first, of course. It says terms of payment will be net 30, subject to 1%, 1.5% penalty. You know, we can't do things in 30.
No, it won't be, you don't have to worry about that.
Then why is it on here?
Kind of a, as he would say, legal thing. They put in there, they can rewrite that to be the, what is it, 90-day net? Is that what you want?
No, we get the bill, we pay it, but we got to wait till we approve it.
5 days.
45.
No, that's
Okay.
completely fine.
Okay,
We deal with that all the time, board approval, board payments.
okay. That's the only one I had.
Good point. Thank you. Then I'll make a motion to direct Carmen to sign the contract pending changing of the payment term.
Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
yes.
Brad Gooddecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
This is,
Thanks, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
that is.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, you're not done? Okay.
We had
I did not.
yeah, they.
It just- The next one exceeds my ability to approve. So I just want him to explain what needs to be done, what hasn't been done, and why it needs to come before you all.
So we also like approval for Carmen to sign off on $11,850. This is for water tank inspections. This will be for the 300,000 gallon glass lined down at the wastewater treatment plant. And then the $456,000 one out at the booster station, it'll be for an ROV. The last time any of our tanks were ROV was in 2021, 2022. And Tim, as you know, these should be done every 3 to 5 years. Life expectancy of your tanks could be anywhere from 125 to 170 if you catch the small problems quickly. So they'll go in, they'll send the robot. We don't have to take the tank out of service. There's no risk to the public.
We're not dropping it all at all. We're leaving it filled and everything.
Yep. They'll be able to send the robot in. It's going to go in. It's going to take a bunch of pictures. They're going to assess. They'll assess our sediment levels to make sure that that's still okay, and we don't have to drain a tower and clean that out. I believe they will also assess paint, likewise other things. And that's just for those 2 tanks. Right now, I'm still waiting on an answer back on what we actually are doing for St. Charles, because we were locked into a contract for them to do cathodic protection, but they haven't actually gotten back to me with what all that's going to entail. If they're just doing that, or if they're actually going to assess the entire tank and send an ROV or any of that.
So this price could change then.
But this is a separate company.
Okay.
So this one, I reached out to Thad with Indiana American. He's their area operator, and this is the company that does all theirs. I know it's kind of short notice. I would like to pull quotes to bring to you. So we are 2025. Like I said, this was done 21, 22.
Do they have programs that are like every 3 years, get a better pricing?
That I do not know. I could inquire to see if maybe if
I mean, it sounds like this needs to be set up on our program
yeah.
for the safety of the tower and preventive maintenance in the water, right?
Yeah, because I mean, they'll even go as far as assessing concrete pads that the tower itself is sitting on to see if we can catch any spalling or any issues ahead of time before it becomes a real issue.
No, you did say that you did this without getting any other quotes because it's 2025. It's been a while. Personally, I would like to see another quote. That way we're keeping the honest man honest. I mean, when we turn in one quote, that's pretty much saying this is what we need. But if we turn in two, then we can put apples to apples. I have no problem with it, but I would like, personally, I would like to see another quote to make sure that the company, knowing that we haven't done it for a while, is gonna come in, and knowing that we might not be getting another price, might not pinch his pennies as tighter. Personally, I'd like to see another quote.
And I can make that happen. It was one of those, with it being September already, if we were able to get this approved and get it to them, they would try to get us in by the end of the month before it gets cold. Otherwise, we may be waiting until spring next year to get this done.
We've waited this long.
Yeah, waited this long.
Add like a not to exceed amount.
Yeah.
If we do get a second quote and let's say it, you know, whatever we set this quote at, not to exceed this amount or round it up just a hair, whatever you feel.
What was this quote?
$11,850.
I would make a motion to authorize it and subject to securing a second quote and in an amount not to exceed the 11,000 and, well, whatever the number is in this quote, so we can't spend more. And, but, that there would be a direction to secure a second quote before signing the contract.
I got one question before we make a motion, please. Carmen, this is in the budget, right? Everything, we got the money for it and all that, right? Okay, well.
Additional appropriations.
Well, that's what
Completely.
That's what I-
This should come out of your operating budget. And we do have fund balances to support this.
Yeah.
But we had not been appropriating maintenance and inspections, of which we'll be changing.
right, but I'm saying, but there is money for it.
It's money. Yeah, it's just not.
That's what I was curious. Sorry, I wasn't trying, I wouldn't get out before you made a motion.
Well, and I mean, procedurally, after a motion is made, any debate or questions or whatever.
Okay.
Are,
I didn't know. That's why I stopped you before that. Sorry.
And I might suggest a little clarification of your motion. You might want to include delegation of authority to the town manager if a second quote came in lower
Mhm.
to have the authority to, you know, enter in a contract with that other provider.
Oh, yeah, I think I probably thought that, I just implied that, I didn't say it, but yes, that, if there is a second, responsible quote that is of a better price from a competent company that, the town manager is authorized to sign the lower.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Tim Brown, Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, sir.
Council comment? Public comment? Go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.
That's David. My legs are hurting. It's hell getting old. I just want you to know that. And it's all because you're working.